don't know what you mean.
Hi, Rabbi. Hi,
I'm
Ben.
being,
Hope you feel better.
Donna,
I'm in,
please, or I will put you on mute. I'm serious.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
serious. Okay, please, Ben, what happened?
just had to have some eye surgery, Rabbi, and I'm in good hands. I'm over by the Jules Stein Center at UCLA, and
I spend a lot of time there.
they know what they're doing.
Okay, all right, speedy recovery and all that, please. Oh, Doug, you've changed your appearance. Okay. I'm okay. What a pleasure to see everybody. Zach's, hi. Roy, I said hello to. Ellen, I said hello to. Sandra. I'm okay. What a pleasure to see everybody. Zach's, hi. Roy, I said hello to. Ellen, I said hello to. Sandra.
Which one is a
Torah.
Okay. All righty. So we're gonna get started.
We'll be on for an hour.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure to be together. So almost Shabbat Shalom. And
Shabbat Shalom.
hope that everyone understands that
Shabbat Shalom.
Invite him for
that this is a very important Sedra. Every Sedra is important. Every word of Torah is important. We know that. However, certain words of Torah are more important. I can't do it. Okay, hold 1 second, please. 1 second, please.
I'll take this solution.
Yeah, take it.
I will take this.
Love you. Have a safe and good trip.
Thank you.
Actually, don't take this one. It's on the table downstairs
Oh,
in the lobby.
Safe. Come back.
Have fun and be well.
You did well this morning.
Oh,
We did.
good.
Okay, I don't know what you said about me while I was gone, but I'm gonna be able to check the recording. I will know. Okay, so it is the 10 Commandments. The subject is Yitro, Jethro, and Judy Boasberg. Okay, it is a very, very, very important location. So when we turn to Yitro, I kind of got excited. I thought, yeah, we're here. We did the Garden of Eden. We got to Egypt. We left Egypt, crossed the Red Sea, got all that. Oh my God, we're standing at the foot of Mount Sinai. So this is good stuff. So we're going to talk about two divergent themes today. One is about the 10 Commandments. And the other, I'll keep that as a surprise. The other will be, I think, very interesting too. So let's get to work. How many full sets of the 10 Commandments are there in the Torah? Are you saying 3 or you're holding your hand up? Cindy?
I have Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus.
Okay, so I phrased the question in order to trap you because I'm in that kind of a mood, okay? I did an hour and a half in the gym today. I spent an hour on the treadmill. I am either going to die of exhaustion or I'm feeling very good. So here I am. Now, I said, how many complete sets of the 10 Commandments are there in the Torah? And so the correct answer to my tricky question is 2. One in Exodus chapter 20, which is our Sedra, and the other is in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 6 and 21. Okay. However, there is a partial set of the Ten Commandments in another location. Eric Mankin showed up. Hi, Eric. I just wanted to say hello. So in Leviticus 19, there is a partial set. And catch this. Exodus 34, 10 to 26, which is not very far from where we are. Exodus 34, 10 to 26 is, some rabbis call it, some scholars call it, a ritual decalogue. It's kind of like a decalogue, but it doesn't deal with ethics and morality as much as it deals with ritual. Okay? Now, we're going to services tonight. I'm going to be there. I'll see you there. Lecha Dodi is going to be sung. What does Lecha Dodi have to do with the Ten Commandments? And I'll rephrase the question. What does Lecha Dodi have to do with the Ten Commandments? Actually, that wasn't a rephrase, that was a repetition. In Lecha Dodi, it says, first of all, Lecha Dodi, I'm not going to sing, you're very nice people, I won't do that to you. But one of the verses says, Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, hishmi anu eham yuchad. Shamor, keep the Sabbath day, and Zachor, remember the Sabbath day. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad were said at the very same time. What's it talking about? In the Exodus 10 Commandments, Zachor, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. In the Deuteronomy, it says Shamor, keep the Sabbath day. Oh my God! Did God forget what God said on Mount Sinai and kind of stumble? Or no, Shamor and Zachor were both said at the very same time, simultaneously. So in case you were at all wondering whether Shamor and Zachor, the part of the two complete sets of the Ten Commandments, redundant, no, they are identical. The fact that they're not identical shouldn't confuse us, because the rabbis had a commitment, they had to be identical. And so if in our feeble human minds, they looked not identical, they don't understand that God said everything at the same time. Question on this point. Question on this point. Jonah.
Yes, about the Shamor. It said to keep the Sabbath, to keep it holy. And I was just looking this up about Sabbath soul. To be connected, we have the desire to be connected to the divine. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. The rabbis will give. Somebody has some sound on that I'm picking up. And
Risa, I believe.
okay. So if you could just mute that.
No,
It was me. I had my radio on. I'm muted.
Excuse me. Zachor is, the rabbis will say, understand it, know it, remember it. Shamor, keep it. Okay? So they have reasons for both. But what we really have here is evidence, one, that the Ten Commandments were important from the beginning. Two, that we have two modified versions of the Ten Commandments? 3, how did it show up in Leviticus chapter 19? Deuteronomy, Deuteronomos, Greek, repetition of the law. That's easy. So it's repeated, not a problem. How did it show up in Leviticus? And it has to do with the fact that the Torah is woven together from various literary strands. Leviticus 19 is most clearly a P or priestly strand. But there's a question here which even I, granted wisdom from the Almighty, cannot answer. How the heck does it come backwards in Leviticus 19? It's jumbled around. You can pick out the 10 Commandments, but it doesn't read like Exodus and Deuteronomy. How did that happen? And all that I can offer you is there were at least 4 major strands woven together to make the Torah. Each of the strands was edited individually, and then all of the strands were edited collectively. In that process, changes occurred. There is no better evidence of the Torah being a composite document than the manner in which the 10 Commandments are handled. Okay? Get that? It just is so clear, unequivocally obvious. Okay. Now, we go on from the unequivocally obvious, and my next question is this the one solitary and only version of the 10 Commandments? Answer, no. Answer, no. Jews and Christians, especially Catholic, differ on dividing the first commandment. They divide it differently. That's a good thing, because the first commandment isn't a commandment. I am the eternal your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Okay? And what do you want me to do about that? It says, lo tinaf, don't commit adultery. So from this, I have learned committing adultery doesn't please God. I shouldn't ought to do it. Also, Risa is vicious. So I won't do that. I am the eternal your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. What does it command? Now you have created the fertile ground for numerous medieval philosophers to write chapters in their books explaining how commandment 1 really is a commandment, because it commands us regarding the identity and the existence of God. Many of us look at the 10 Commandments. We see the first commandment as an introduction and the next 9 as the next 9. But that doesn't make 10, so we end up with 10. So Christians and Jews view the counting of the 10 Commandments differently. So every time someone puts up the absolute, unique, and forever version of the Ten Commandments, they're already making a choice between what's in the Torah and what's in Christian literature. Okay? Which is fine. They do that. We just have to know about it. Now, what about lo tirtzach? That could mean murder is forbidden, or it could mean killing is forbidden. How important is the difference? Help me. How important is the difference? Murder and killing. How important?
I have my hand raised.
Okay.
The intention.
Okay. Intentionality is absolutely one part of it. What's the difference between killing and murder? Killing and murder. Doug.
I think murder refers to people and killing refers to other organisms. Well, killing a fly or killing a cow for food, or so to me, the Torah must mean murder, not killing.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting, and I love it, and thank you for that. I am reminded of a religious group in India for whom killing anything is totally forbidden. They regard it as a sin if a fly flies into their mouths and dies. They have violated an ethical principle. Killing and murder often does connect with intentionality. Do I have another hand, Cindy?
I think the difference is, said the intention, which then allows for defense and war. You could kill in certain circumstances because of the, like the Jews certainly, well, God killed a lot of the Bible, and when the Jews entered Canaan, they certainly killed. So it allows that as opposed to murder.
Thank you. I'm not going to comment, but thank you. Very good, Eric. Eric?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. In courts, there are endless permutations of exactly when and how a death can be is something that somebody is guilty of, is a crime or an accident or a mistake, or anyway, there's volumes and volumes and volumes of distinctions that are made without even talking about the commandments.
Right. So
However, basically,
manslaughter and murder.
okay, now the bottom line, first, I mean, the most guilty you can be of murder is how? I mean, we have to define that. Is you have a selfish end which you are using somebody's death to achieve, or you're in a group of thousands of people carrying weapons, firing them at another group of thousands of people. Is that murder?
Yeah, it philosophically, legally, it's a fascinating topic. It is that.
But nobody can. But we don't have a direct line to the Almighty, so He can say, "Ding, that's a forbidden one."
Well, excuse me, Eric. I am an ordained rabbi, so when you speak generic, no one having a direct line, okay.
You're pretty good. I appreciate you being there. That's great.
That's good. Now, that's why the translation should be "don't murder." Thou shalt not murder. It does not say thou shalt not kill, because within the Torah itself, it permits judicial killing capital punishment, 4 different kinds. It's there. It
War.
permits war, permits warfare. It permits self-defense. So it clearly could not mean don't kill. It means don't murder in this
But
setting.
then it leaves this complexity of how to define murder. What is murder and what are other killings?
May I ask you a question?
Okay, you can wait. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to shut up now.
No, you
No,
don't.
no,
shut
keep
up.
talking.
The Eric, there are moments in the Torah text which are extremely unsettling with regard to this question. There were the 2 sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, who offered whatever it means, Eish Zarah, a strange fire to God, and God incinerated them on the spot.
God runs by different rules, though.
I understand, but you understand that it's troubling. It is
Yeah.
very troubling. On the one hand, Jewish law goes way beyond necessity to define away the possibility of applying capital punishment. On the other hand, God is apparently not limited that way. That's unsettling.
Yes.
So, okay, I see Merle, I see Lorraine.
I find the whole definition of murder and killing very difficult to separate, but I keep thinking that killing is like maybe some sort of defense mechanism, defending yourself, you being the killer. Murder is, to me, it's intentional,
Well,
but I find it all intentional.
intentionality is clearly, from my lay perspective, a major element in defining what is murder. Clearly, I get that.
We can start talking about serial killers doing it for fun.
Yes, and then you have to ask yourself, can there be intention if there is psychosis? And
That's exactly.
okay, so it's yeah, okay. But I watch Criminal Minds on television. I know all about serial killers, everything there is to know. Okay, I see Lorraine.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon. So very interesting topic. I also would start by saying almost the exact same words that Merle led with. It's very challenging for me to separate, but I have a question related to these two, to that precise separation. You know how in the Torah there is a city of refuge where people who have killed or murdered are able to go to escape the wrath of the family of the victim.
Yes.
So is there a distinction that affords that refuge to the person who is implicated in the murder or the killing? For example, if it's a killing that happened in an accident, you can go to the city of refuge. But if you murder someone, then you cannot. They turn you around. They I don't know.
Okay, so you're very correct, Lorraine, very correct. City of refuge available for the accidental killer, for the, if you will, I guess in the manslaughter, whatever it is, non-intentional. They give an example. You're cutting a tree with an axe, and as you lift the axe, the head flies off and kills somebody. They give that as an example. And that clearly is an example of not intentional. And so the cities of refuge are to protect you, because in the Torah, the Goel Dam, the blood redeemer, is not limited by intentionality. if let's say the axe head flew off and your cousin got killed. So you are now the blood redeemer, and you can kill the blood redeemer until that blood redeemer gets to the city of refuge. And then you are stopped. If you try to kill the person there, you are guilty of murder. Okay, do you see? So in a very primitive sense of the law, revenge is a permitted cause for taking a life.
Hmm.
The court system tries to do away with that. But fundamentally, in the core, the early texts of Torah, revenge is an acceptable behavior. Okay? Okay. Very good. We're going to go forward now. Okay.
May I have one question,
Jonah,
please?
Jonah, quickly,
Yes.
one sentence.
Okay, the gentleman, and I don't want to say gentleman, the psychopath that had the rifles on the 18th floor, I think he should give the death penalty because it says, suffer little children to come to me. You know, the Lord said that, Yeshua said that. It's like he had these rifles up and aimed at the people in the park. Thank God that the citizens were alert and they stopped this before he hurt anybody. But I don't think we should pay for his meals and 3 squares a day.
Okay, that's a debate about capital punishment, and it is a worthy debate. It is that. Okay, so now we know that the Bible has 2 + 2 sets of 10 commandments. We know that Jews and Christians number the 10 commandments differently, and we know that translations vary. Now, when you go to the New Testament, how do the 10 commandments stack up against any of the other teachings in the New Testament? This is a really important interfaith understanding question. Let me be clear. In the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 37 to 39, you may not have that available. You're going to have to take it on faith that what I'm saying is accurate. You're stuck. Okay. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This, in Matthew, this is the greatest and first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is a really important moment. As much as, what was the governor of Alabama put up stone tablets in front of the courthouse or something like that. And it got to be a problem. But celebrating the 10 commandments, yet within Christian teachings, the 10 commandments are problematic. Why? Within Christian teachings, the 10 commandments are problematic. Why?
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I think I know why.
Why?
Because
Wait, please.
okay, sorry.
Wait. Okay, I see an injured eye. Ben?
Well, a lay answer is they don't really follow the 10 commandments. The Shabbat, the Sabbath day, they don't follow that as far as I know.
That is the absolutely correct answer. You're excused from the rest of the class. Now, the Christians can claim to observe the 10 commandments, but that requires them to eliminate the Sabbath commandment
Mhm.
or to do something else. What is the alternative to eliminating the Sabbath commandment? Move the Sabbath to Sunday and call it the Lord's Day.
Oh my God.
That's how that happened. So you can say, I observe the 10 commandments, and when it comes to the Sabbath commandment, that's okay. The resurrection occurred on a Sunday. The Sunday is the Lord's day, and we now declare the Sabbath is Sunday.
Every day is Lord's Day.
You understand that this is amazingly creative and highly problematic. I see Judy, then after Judy, I see 828-207-1133 without a name. So I'm going to call 828 after Judy.
So I'm looking through my Bible here, and I am reading what it says about the you shall not make yourself a sculptured image or any likeness of what is the heavens above, blah, blah, blah. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am an impassioned God, visiting the guilt of the parents upon the children, upon the third and upon the fourth generation of those who reject me. That's a big problem for me. So
if you want to call, we can talk about it for an hour at usual rates. Why is it a big problem for you?
well, I don't see how it is in any way just to blame children for the sins of their parents. They're different entities. It's not like the children have any responsibility for what their parents do or did. If that were the case, I could never be friends with a German. So I'd be curious to see how does one get around this?
Okay, first of all, I'm not allowed to speak personally, Judy, but you have a very large dog.
I have two very large dogs. They're very, but they're good Jews.
Okay, now moving right ahead. There is another state in the section of the Bible known as prophets, Nevi'im. The parents have eaten bitter grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. Here is a process of parents sin, kids pay the penalty. And then you have the statement, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. And I need to point out to you that the problem you raise not only is significant, but it is one through which the Torah and prophetic teachings evolved. By the time you get to the later teachings, you've heard the soul that sinneth, it shall die, wins. The others are set aside, but it's a process. So that if you look only at the 10 commandments, you are stuck with third and fourth generation guilt. But when you get to latter parts of the Bible and certainly rabbinic literature, that's gone. The reason I mentioned that, to make a point many of you have heard me say before, I have never in my life spoken to a religious seeker and told them, pick up the Bible, read it, and you will come to a deeper understanding of faith. I will never send a seeker to the Bible unescorted. The reason is what you just pointed out. Because the Bible, the Torah itself, and the Bible clearly shows evolution in positions over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And if you are stuck with reading the Bible as it is written when you encounter it, you will be twisted in the wind. Or you'll simply say, God will explain it sometimes. You can't enter the Bible unescorted and get a sense of what is being taught there. It's really important. And this gets me into trouble with those who believe in divine revelation and that every word in Torah is God's word. I do not believe that. The reason I do not believe it, among other things, is the clear evolution of positions, like on capital punishment, like on the children bearing responsibility for their parents' sins, and on we go. You asked a big question, Judy. Did I attempt to answer it? Okay?
Yeah, well, it's a start.
You always can push. You always can push.
Yeah.
Okay. Brad?
Yeah, Rabbi, coming back to your the Christian issue, I was taught that the problem here is in the first commandment, which where Christians join the first and second commandment together as
Yes.
one commandment. And then one of the later commandments, they separate into two to get to 10. And their problem is with that first commandment, which to me does not even sound like a commandment. So can you explain a bit how that first commandment is the bone of contention and why it is a commandment?
Okay. I said earlier, Brad, that in my eyes, the first commandment isn't a commandment. And secondly, it isn't only Christians who question it. All Bible scholars do. We are left with a given, the Hebrew, the matzav natun, the given circumstance. You can't change it. But if you're going to read it carefully, Brad, it doesn't work. So,
But do rabbis find a way of turning it into a commandment somehow?
Sure. As I tried to say earlier, they say that the first commandment is a commandment to be aware of and recognize the sovereignty of God. The second commandment talks about don't make images, do this, do that. So they're separate. But it's interpretation and it's not solid, but it is interpretation. Lorraine.
But Rabbi, why, excuse me for pushing, but why is it that Christians then join those two? And why is that such a sticking point between Christians and Jews?
Actually, it's not the big sticking point. It is an interesting philological and literary point, but when push comes to shove, it doesn't change much in the real world. The real question is the Sabbath commandment. That's what changes things in the real world. And understanding that murder and killing are not the same. Oh, I can give you another one, Brad. I just happen to have all these things floating in my head. If I say them, I can relax. There is a rule in Bible, in Torah interpretation. Every mitzvah must point to something unique. There is no such thing as a commandment here and a commandment there that say the same thing. If you read it that way, it's because you don't understand. Now I'm going to give you one serious example. Lo tignov. Don't steal. That's pretty obvious. Don't steal. It's repeated in the Torah. That can't be. So lo tignov here is you are forbidden to kidnap. And lo tignov there is you are forbidden to steal. Do you see what happened? That the rabbis can never accept in a divinely revealed document redundancy. Can't happen. If it looks like redundancy, you've got to interpret things better. Brad, are you with me? Okay, I'm going to assume that's a yes. Lorraine?
Such an interesting discussion. There's a point that I thought that was the main point, and the Sabbath is high up there, but I thought when you were referring to that we were going to address the Trinity issue, right? Where it's so central and so fundamental that for Jewish tradition, God is one, is a main affirmation, but then in Christianity, there is a fundamental concept of Trinity, right? Where Jesus, the Spirit, and God are just triangulated. So I thought that was the main sticking point, because
Lorraine,
and
what
yes.
I wasn't trying to do was to point out the most significant differences between Christianity and Judaism. I was focusing on the Ten Commandments and seeing how they point to differences. I could be so upsetting about that, but I did work out in the gym and I'm feeling kind of like, I'm okay. But I could say to you, classical theism presents insuperable details insuperable conflicts in understanding and confronting God. 2,000 years of philosophy have worked to try to figure out how an infinite, abstract God has physical contact with the world within which we live. Thousands of years. One of the ways in which Christians did it, forgive the allusion, was by a procedure of diluting the sanctity of God until God could contact us. The dilution takes place from the Father to the Son to the Holy Spirit. I could do a real number on this, but we're running out of time, and I have that surprise for you. May I point out that Jews have the same problem. How is God infinitely immaterial and abstract, and yet has contact with the people Israel? And I will tell you that the answer is Shekhinah, the so-called feminine aspect of God. The Shekhinah is understood to walk among us
Hello.
in a way that God never could. And if I've opened up a big thing, send it to Risa. Risa.
Risa has a question. The entire column of discussion in the Women's Torah commentary at the beginning of all of this answers, I think, some of the questions that you're posing in a different way, because it stresses that these are not mitzvot and that it's a bad translation. And Aseret HaDevarim, the 10 things or the 10 statements or whatever you want to say, or the Greek Decalogue, doesn't talk at all about these being commandments. There's no punishment. And it's not even clear about to whom they're being addressed. I find that fascinating.
I find that obtrusive. I mean, right, fine. According to Maimonides, there are Taryag mitzvot, 613 mitzvot. Of the 613 commandments, the 10 are part of the batch. Thus, I would respond initially that in the standard enumeration of 613 commandments, the 10 commandments are commandments. Now, they are a unit, unlike almost anything else. The Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 statements, are a unit. They're called Aseret HaDibrot. They're never, to my knowledge, called Aseret HaMitzvot, the 10 commandments. So on the one hand, they're part of the 613. On the other hand, they have a clustered unity of their own. Affirming this cannot be allowed to deny this. They are commandments, but they are a unitary, separate set of statements. Okay? Oh, I got doubt in my house like a worm eating the fruit. Okay, I have to run to the next section because I want to do it. I want to ask you, there are two things. Oh, geez. There are two things. Why are the 10 commandments not in our liturgy? In the standard service, we'll read tonight, tomorrow morning, Rosh Hashanah, you name it, you're not going to read the 10 commandments. Why? Or you're not even going to read, Risa, the 10 statements. Why? The Talmud talks about this. The 10 commandments, it says in the Talmud, were included in the temple service, second temple. The 10 commandments were read during the worship in the temple. The priest used to recite the 10 commandments, and then recite the Shema. It was there. They did it. This continued and was repeated, I'm still quoting the Talmud, outside the temple, but was soon abolished because of the arguments of the minim. M-I-N-I-M, minim, the word is usually translated heretics. Another quote elsewhere, Rav Chisda said, the abolishment of the Ten Commandments came because of the arguments of the minim. Another couple of rabbis say it would be proper to read the Ten Commandments every day. Why don't we? Because of the minim. But here they expand on the answer, because the minim say that only the 10 commandments were given at Sinai, and all the rest are elaborations between God and Moses during the wilderness wandering. They might say, the Talmud says, Brachot, all Israelites received the 10 commandments directly from God. All the rest were communicated through Moses, and the minim would say, who may have invented them, and thus they are not binding. This is big deal. So you got to say, who were the minim? Who were the heretics? The Talmud answers, no, honey, they weren't talking about you. I promise. Okay? No. Go away. All right. Now, the heretics, minim, could have referred to Christians, Gnostics, G-N, Gnostics, Samaritans, Hellenizers, like in the Maccabee stories of Hanukkah, Hellenizers, and so forth. The rabbis blamed every theological enemy of mainstream Judaism and called them minim, heretics. Christians, heretics. Hellenizers were Jewish. They were just like very assimilated Jews. They're not like Christians. Gnostics, there was Gnosticism within Judaism. The Samaritans claimed Jewish origins and identity.
Gang's all here.
What happened? The 10 Commandments became a shorthand for a lot of Jews who ended up saying, all I've got to do is this. And that destroyed the entire structure of rabbinic Judaism, or would have if allowed. This was a direct knife thrust into rabbinic Judaism. And by the way, I have met here in LA and around the world Jews who say, oh, you're a rabbi. Well, I'm sort of Jewish. I observe what's important, 10 commandments. That's all I need, and that's all I have. Have I heard that? A lot. It still exists. Do you know what they're really saying? I haven't murdered anybody recently, so I'm a 10 Commandment Jew. I'm doing this stuff. It is reducing Judaism to an absurdity. On the other hand, we like the 10 Commandments. So what did we do? What did we do? We snuck the 10 Commandments back in the prayer book in the introductory prayers to the morning service. So if you, the Pasuk 8 is, if you go to a traditional prayer book and look to the introductory prayers that precede the Baruch Hu, lo and behold, the 10 Commandments are there. They're there. In a diminished position, but every time I encounter them, I laugh. There you are. You bet. We tried to kick you out, and you are permanently here, not in the diamond circle up front, but you're there. And the 10 Commandments. So the 10 Commandments are not in the major liturgy, except they are in the introductory morning prayers. Now, in the 2 minutes I have left, actually a minute and a half, and I want to say I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be with you. I have one last question. Would you please, by raising your hand, give me the name of important non-Jews in the Torah? I want you to get to 4. Okay? I see Cindy.
Jethro,
I'm sorry?
Jethro,
Yitro, of course, he's the reason why I thought of the question, because this is the Torah portion which mentions Moses' father-in-law, Jethro. Yes. Now, we need 3 others. That was kind of low-hanging.
Pharaoh.
Pardon?
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh is definitely, I don't want to give a number in terms of importance. Pharaoh counts. Pharaoh, important non-Jew in the Bible. Pharaoh, Lynn.
Balaam.
You got it. Number 3, Balaam. Oh, Lynn, really good. So you got Jethro and Balaam and Pharaoh and I knew this is where we would end up.
Job.
You are running on all cylinders. The only problem with Job is that he's not in the Torah. It's in the book of Job. So, but Job is a non-Jew, certainly important, but not in the Torah. In the Torah. One more.
Is it a woman?
What are we playing? 20 questions larger than a bread box?
Batya, because she rescued Moses.
Pharaoh's daughter.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
A princess.
Who else?
Oh, it's 1 o'clock.
No.
Next year, or it's Melchizedek.
Say it again.
It's Melchizedek. Genesis chapter 14, verse 18. Melchizedek encountered Abraham. He is called the king of Salem, which most commentators believe he is the king of the place where Jerusalem is first mentioned in the Torah. He is the king of Salem, he is also called in the Torah a priest of El Elyon.
Wow.
He is called a priest of God Most High, one of the names that the Bible uses for God. And he brought Abraham an offering of bread and wine.
Mhm.
First reference to what we consider to be the standard Kiddush format.
That's beautiful.
So Melchizedek translates righteous king.
Melchizedek.
Is considered, there are questions. Was this Melchizedek guy, priest of El Elyon, a monotheist? Wait. The New Testament refers to Jesus as high priest after the order of Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeshua.
as the rabbis understood that Melchizedek, who appears probably in a big 2 verses in the book of Genesis, is one of the most transformative connections we have to the origins of Judaism. Can I tell you, we don't understand much, but what it says, King of Salem, priest of El Elyon, bread and wine. That's all it says.
Mm.
But having said that, Melchizedek is one of the most mysterious and interesting people in the Torah. It's amazing. Melchizedek, Melech, King, Tzedek, righteous, the king of righteousness, whatever, Melchizedek.
Is he in the Zohar, Rabbi?
No. We who are students of Torah try to learn, but we're going to have to accept the reality that beneath the layers of the knowable, there are layers of what probably will be the forever unknown. Could something be discovered, a text, a stone, something? Okay, you get last word, Eric, and then we leave.
It's just a question. What language did Mel speak?
What language?
Mel.
What language was Mel? Did Mel and Abraham have the same language?
It doesn't discuss language there.
No, I know, but
It doesn't discuss. So we have to believe that Moses spoke Hebrew. We have to believe that he also spoke Egyptian. Melchizedek was a Canaanite from Canaan. Okay, not
a related Semitic language, or
so he spoke Semitic languages. I can go that far with you, Eric. I hope this doesn't happen often, but I'm going to have to say we don't know. But a Semitic language. You cut off. I didn't hear you.
No, there is something else about the commandments which does have to do with language, which is that it was given to God to write it down, and it's not clear what form of writing was used to do so, if any existed.
On top of Mount Sinai, God's finger inscribed the 10 tablets of stone. Finger.
Yes, yes, with using some kind of writing system.
And the system that the Talmud describes is black fire, no, red fire on black fire.
That's a format, but
But they don't exist yet here.
I'm going as close as I can. There obviously were hieroglyphics at that time. There obviously were some forms of written language.
no, there were the Egyptian hieroglyphics are quite different. But the other thing I've been sort of fascinated by a long time is the first alphabet. We know the alphabet was invented by some Semites living in Egypt about this time. And so do we know some Semites living in Egypt that might have been interested in creating an alphabet, maybe with somebody that was familiar with hieroglyphics and wanted to do something better?
I'm going to say a snarky answer, probably Sigmund Freud, because
That's who it was. Yeah, that's who that's what everybody says.
Moses and monotheism, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Setting aside
Moses and alphabets.
Freud,
Yeah.
setting aside Sigmund Freud, Eric, I am going to place the origins of the alphabet into Samaria and not into Egypt. I would place them, the origins of the alphabet, not with the Egyptian. But that's a question.
Not with the Egyptians, with what the scholarship is. It was for some speakers of a Semitic language living in Egypt. That's the earliest alphabetic scripts that exist.
And with
the
that-
pyramids along
And with that, I say to you, Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful
Shabbat.
Shabbat. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Remember the
Shabbat
10
Shalom,
commandments.
everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you. This
Bye-bye.
was amazing.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Memorable. Shalom.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.